Okay, I have good news and bad news. Bad news is we need to be out of here by about 5, 10, 15, so we're going to cut short the time so we can get to refreshments. But for now, the panel has agreed to open up to you all and give you a chance to raise questions and comments. And we'll go for about 20 minutes, and then we'll have our town fellowship and then our refreshments. Okay, so it's yours, and I'll tell you when time is up. Go ahead.
Are you moderating?
No, I'm going to just watch it. Short questions.
Short question.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess it's a wish that the grammar of this conversation would, or semantics would, expose that technology may be a word that is too broad. Ted told the story of his father, who was an automotive engineer. He named a product category, which is what patent attorneys refer to when they talk about an invention and file a patent application. They call it embodiments, the preferred embodiment, which is an interesting term that's also been used here. And it feels to me like when technology, which is simply know-how, is embodied in a product or a process, it is intersects with the economy or intersects with ethics. It intersects with intrinsic exchange or instrumental value. So, sorry, this is a little talk, but I'm wondering if any of you would step into that space and see that there may be some very robust things to talk about and ways to talk about this with transhumanists who sound to me like they come out of a science, not a science background. Science is used by engineers and business people to validate their work, discover constraints, but it doesn't necessarily block invention. And these guys sound like they're resonating with invention.
Okay, let's have the panel respond to your question.
Yeah. So is there a question in there? Sorry.
I have a comment, which is that I would like to be more specific. It's too general. And the one thing that really I think is central to these transhumanists is this being able to change the genetics of our children to make better. The parents will want to have that, and it's the reason I like it is it's very, very concrete. It's going to happen. And society needs to figure out how can we enable it to happen in a healthy way so it's not just the rich people. So that's why I gave that example. It's a transhumanist thing. It's very practical. It's going to happen. It's very dangerous. It's not. Anyway.
I appreciate your bringing this up, Stan. I just getting back to semantics. How should we speak about this? I think that one issue has to do with therapy versus enhancement for the individual child whose genome gets changed by the parents for either therapeutic reasons, getting rid of the Tay-Sachs mutation, or for enhancement reasons, which we're not able to do yet, but we're very likely to be able to do it within a half decade. So that's one issue. The other one is the social justice issue. That's the word I would like to put on your concern.
Yes.
Is that the individual is the beneficiary of CRISPR or gene editing technology, but we want to be sure there's equity, social equity, and that takes public vision, a political vision, a shared vision, so that we don't end up with what I call free market eugenics, where the rich have all these advantages, and then the poor people who may need genetic editing are unable to get it. That's a justice issue. And I wouldn't want to sacrifice the individual benefit for the justice, but we can't let the technology, or shall we say the profiteering of free market eugenics, just run amok without social guidance, social controls.
The balance. Okay, other questions?
So I have an interesting concern. The work that Hava mentioned at the beginning from Calvin Mercer and Tracy Trouthan, and several others, including Ron Turner's Transhumanism or Transcendence. There are a number of collected works and monographs put out by religious thinkers attacking transhumanism on various fronts. And most of them are based in these very rich and very well thought out traditions, and it's very enlivening to read that transhumanism can take only one route out to make its claims, but religious folks tend to have various positions. But one of the concerns I have is, as I'm a PhD student, candidate writing my dissertation, and using transhumanism as a case study, and the specific case I'm using is from Dmitry Itzkov's 2045 initiative. And Itzkov is an entrepreneur who's trying to bring together various technological advancements to accomplish mind uploading by 2045, which is what the name is reference to. And he's gained the support of several transhumanists, including Ray Kurzweil, Natasha Vita-Moore, Andrew Sandberg, and others. But he's also gained, importantly, he's gained the validation from several religious figures, including a Greek Orthodox bishop from Toronto, including a number of Buddhist and Hindu mystics and monks, including a Jewish rabbi.
Who?
And I can't remember the name. The person who's in charge of this, Itzkov.
No. Who is the Jewish rabbi?
I don't remember. I apologize. And the concern that I have is, as religious folks are tending to produce a unified front, otherwise, it's very hard to find in these works from Trouthan and Mercer and Ron Turner support in favor of transhumanism. It looks to others as though it's not, may look to others as though there's nothing controversial about being a Christian and being in favor of radical life enhancement or mind uploading. Do you have any concerns about the way that this could be used in order to bring people who are believers of one tradition or another into supporting the more dangerous aspects of transhumanism? In other words, let me put this another way, is there a concern about the social dynamics and the power being enlisted by transhumanists to gain support in their
work? Let me try to take a stab at it. I'm not totally sure what you're asking about. First of all, there will never be a unified front from religious thinkers, believers, people who are engaged in religious life. Never. So I don't expect it, and I don't believe that you should expect it. Would a religion kind of be more successful in engaging transhumanist authors? Could. Do they really read the books that Calvin Mercer and Tracy Trouthan are putting together? They have already 3 books. I think they're doing, so do they really care? No, I don't think they care. I really don't. So to me, the question is, religion can be mobilized as a force for critique. But as I ended my comments, I don't know how successful the critique will be or has been. It's not impacting popular culture, that I can say that. popular culture is not going along the lines that I propose to go. But I'm against, I don't consider myself a part of popular culture, and I don't have.
How about, are you saying the popular culture is not taking your position, or the transhumanism is not influencing popular culture?
No, the first.
Okay, thank you.
Popular culture does not pay attention to our religious voices. They really don't. So it's in conflict. Our problem is that we have two communities that are really speaking to themselves as opposed to each other. And how to break that kind of insularity, I'm not sure we can. So what's at stake here is the religious secular kind of divide. Ron and I can talk to each other, Ron Turner, and we are more or less on the same page. He's a little bit more pro-transhumanism than I am, but Nick Bostrom is not there, okay? And so forth. So I want to know who are those people who support it and support transhumanism, the people that you have in mind. And I've done myself, I've shown how religion is interacting with transhumanism, okay? So it's we need to get into the specifics. But on the whole, I don't believe that this criticism is going to impact popular culture. Who is this Itzkoff? I would like to know more about that. The fact that he's an entrepreneur, that proves my point. That what's at stake is money here, it's wealth. This could be a way to make money. It's going to be people who make money out of it.
There's $3 million buying, $3 million buying if you're interested.
Okay, Peter has a question, Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm interested in sort of the sweet spot here. This morning something came across my Facebook transom about a girl who was a victim of Chernobyl, whose legs were horribly deformed, so her adoptive mother opted to have the legs amputated, and I'm sure there's an ethical issue here, and replaced with bionic legs to give her actually a superb future. She's a great athlete. The question would be, sort of relating to tangentially to Ted's question, when you have somebody like Oscar Pistorius, who turns out to be a superior athlete, or if you've got somebody with a brain who needs a brain operation and they end up putting in something that actually enhances the brain, you want to be good and generous to people who need operations and who need enhancements, but how far does it go before you actually are very unfair to the rest of society who don't have the same degree of benefit?
I've been wondering about this. I think the distinction between therapy and enhancement is very, very, very tricky, and I think this is also a moving line. If before we had vaccine, it was therapy, now it's just normal. At what point is what we require? If everybody had a deep brain implant, right, then suddenly that becomes the normal. It's not really enhancement anymore. If there's one person that didn't have it, then they actually need therapy. Because medicine works by pathology. If the person is suffering, then that person needs therapy. But what is the basis for suffering? What is the background of humanity? That's why I was asking you. So how do we define what is normal? How do we define what is human before we can get that? It's very difficult to say, this is therapy, this is enhancement, because it's going to be a constantly moving line. I don't know if anybody has written about this. I would be very happy to know.
Actually, in this book that I edited on the basis of our project in building Better Human, Ken Mossman takes this issue of therapy versus enhancement, and he also argued, like you are saying, it's a very flimsy kind of distinction and very problematic. So, yes, more problematic is to define what is normal and what is human, but I definitely don't think that superintelligence is human. Definitely don't, machine-based, those machines are not human, and that I can say. And I think you will probably agree with me on that one, right?
Okay, Jen?
Yeah, I had a question about the notion of sin and transhumanism. And I wondered, I know sin is a broad topic, and transhumanists don't always agree on these things, but how do they come at it? Like, can technology make us less sinful? And what was their interpretation of it in the conversation with theology and
To be honest, I don't think that the category makes any difference to them. Because it's a theological category. Most transhumanists are not thinking in theological categories. Sin and sinfulness is a theological category. So it makes more sense to talk about imperfect rather than sinful. But they take away that theologically laden language. It does not compute to many of them. I don't think.
Perfect is laden too.
Perfect is laden too, but perfect seems to them a lot more. It is within the range of the secular discourse that they accept. To talk about sinfulness and punishment and reward, I don't think that that would be.
Well, I mean, I think they would probably agree just empirically that a lot of technologies have been used for evil that were initially created for good. So, I mean, in terms of using technology for sin and evil.
But good, remember, if we take Bostrom, because he's philosophically the most advanced of them, he's a utilitarian. So language is all utilitarian language. Because the analysis of good and evil is all utilitarian kind of analysis. Sinfulness is not utilitarian. So I think that what you are introducing here is a category mistake. It's just that they don't operate in those categories. Maybe one of them eventually will, but some of the more religiously or spiritually minded among them, like Michael Atora is a Buddhist, and he doesn't operate with this category. He has other categories that he adapted from Buddhism and how it fits into transhumanism. So that's kind of my response. Many other people will have a different angle.
Yeah, so what if I paraphrase what you're saying?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
I think the transhumanists could benefit by adopting the category of sin. One of my critiques has been that they don't understand either graffiti or computer viruses. A computer virus is an example of human evil that is solely evil. I mean, it's not pressed into the service of anything good. It is solely destructive. So no matter how much we increase intelligence or how much we increase anything according to their calculus, there will be this force that comes up that is only destructive. So when I talk with either a transhumanist or I comb through Kurzweil's stuff, here's their response. Well, the good guys will always stay ahead of the bad guys. So no matter how bad the computer virus is, the good people will find a way to counteract. That is their only answer. So it's a profound misunderstanding of what the human condition is. You know?
I agree with that.
Do we have time for one last comment? But see what else is coming up. Anyone else want to get at this? Yeah. Brady.
Yeah, I've been thinking that we've said that transhumanists don't want to adopt a virtue ethics perspective. But I don't think there's anything stopping us who are theologically minded to imagine what a virtue ethic engaging transhumanism might look like. And I think some core elements in that might be looking at the role of friendship in virtue ethics and using that to combat the individualism that we find in transhumanism. And I think the other important thing would be to identify moral exemplars. That if we're going to look at who would enhanced humans look to as their moral exemplars, and I think we have to look at literature and media at least as a starting point for that, because I think that there have been authors and writers and producers that have tried to wrestle with the question of enhanced humans and ethics. It's just not necessarily in an academic way.
So who do you have in mind? Gibson or Stevenson? Who are the authors that you?
Oh, I mean literature, movies, television.
Yeah.
Looking at enhanced individuals like something as banal as superheroes. How do people with enhanced abilities act in the world, especially towards the vulnerable?
Can you think, Braden, of an individual we might know who actually is admired because of his or her intelligence, who also embodies the virtues that are relative, who might be a role model. Are there any such people around?
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. That's why I'm suggesting, I
Because if
think
you get a
you
very
identify.
intelligent person whom transhumanists admire, who says, my intelligence is integrally related to my pursuit of virtue, I think you'd have something.
Bill Gates and Melinda Gates.
Maybe they would be good models, yes, maybe, yeah.
Okay, let's thank our panelists and especially Howard.